Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, careful players. um, Today in this little video I got planned, we are going to be doing a three-part series on KSP on getting to the moon. So this is going to be kind of like a tutorial for some of the newer players of KSP. So I already got a rocket on the launch pad. So what I'm going to do is go to the VAB, or the Vehicle Assemblies building. So, and here we are. We already have a couple of parts. Some of these parts are actually modded. Like, for example, this one. So I'm just going to stick to basically the default, and this is going to be the latest KSP download you can actually get. So here we go. Mark 3. Actually, Mark 1 through 3 command pod, and this little nifty thing. They actually redid a lot of the interior and the exterior for the previous versions that we all got to know and love. Personally, I'm a fan of this one. It actually has more of a Apollo feel to it. So, first off, we're going to do a direct ascent. So this is going to be like a Apollo 11 or 15 or 17 mission using a Saturn V. So, first of all, in this version of KSP, here, let me turn off. Oh, I thought I'd get to. Anyway, thought I could turn down the sound, but anyway, first of all, disable your RCS, so your RCS parts are actually on the command pod. That's another thing they improved on, which is pretty nifty of them. So disable your RCS. Then you just saw me at a parachute. Very important for this guy to be on top, obviously. If you have a docking port, which is going to be in a future episode or series, you could do it. I usually try to stick to just using 3, or try deployment. And if I was to use a docking, not that one, a docking port, and so you can dock in space and be able to still retrieve your crew from space. So in this video, we're not going to be doing that, and we're just going to stick just with this one in this episode. So, next off is your heat shield. In the original Apollo command module, this is, I don't know what type of material they would have used, okay? So, the whole purpose of the heat shield is to actually absorb a lot of the heat into it. And the earlier heat shields that Apollo used, even Gemini and even, I think maybe Mercury, maybe, that may be stretching something, but the whole purpose of a heat shield is to be dug into during re-entry, so you're actually eating through your thermal heat shield. So that is very important to have in the command module. Next is going to be your coupler. So this is this guy that actually slices a rocket into. So that's part that right under your heat shield. So next off, this is going to be a direct ascent off the lunar surface or the lunar surface. Is that the one? obviously, sorry about that. You obviously need fuel. Fuel is the number one thing in a rocket, for sure. Um, and you're going to use that to get to the Mun and back in a direct ascent. So this is going to be a very basic um, design. So, oh shit. Another possibility is actually try to keep this as little as possible, because on the lunar surface, weight did matter quite a bit. And during the early 60s, the original plan to get to the moon was actually a direct ascent. So they eventually got away from that idea and eventually moved on to a also Edgar Arceus. So they also got away with a rendezvousing in Earth orbit, then launching the vehicle to the moon, and eventually they got into a lunar rendezvous to get the crew back. So and we're not going to be doing that in this instance. Next, we got a rocket engine. Obviously, this is going to be getting our crew to the surface and doing burns to actually adjust and correct the orbit, and eventually land on the surface. And landing gear. Next is landing gear. So I used to love using these. Nowadays you can actually have these deployed and not deployed, which is quite helpful. But I mean the bulky. I mean these kind of get away with. You can get away with having these, but they're bulky, they're heavy. But for a larger vehicle like this, it's going to be completely necessary. Next, so I think in this little video, I think this should get to the Mun and back. So next is going to be our launch vehicle. So I usually call this part of the rocket, if I'm making a moon lander, like the Apollo one. I usually call this next one the S4B, which is actually quite appropriate in my opinion, because the original part that actually got the Apollo crew to the moon was actually the S4B, and this is true for a lot of reasons, because without the S4B you would be just stuck in Earth orbit, which is also known as a parking orbit. And, keep on got a lot of things I want to talk about, but anyways, I mean, I wouldn't really like covering the command module, because obviously great views from the inside the cockpit, but that's not what I wanted. The best part of that is you can actually close it, and it would show up in blue. I would show that once again. So all you gotta do is delete the fairings and build, and that's how you get to actually redo your fairings. So by right-clicking on the fairing block. But anyway, And if it's great, it will not click. It has to be green. And obviously, you can watch tutorials and stuff like that on how to build these amazing fairings. And actually, some mods would come with already built-in fairings, so not like these, but decoupling almost like. But anyway, getting off topic. Next is the S for B. So this part is actually going to get us to the moon. So we got one of those rocket engines, and another decoupler is going to be used. Still kind of getting used to these new parts. This part is a bit tricky because weight does matter a lot in space travel, because too much weight you're not going to leave the ground and crash into the ground if you're trying to land, and too little weight is also a bad thing in my opinion, because you know you're not going to have a very big payload, which is going to be this. Anyways, oh, that's my little spiel. Those. And I mean, you could launch it just like this, but this is way too unstable in my opinion. But just because of the end, because if you launch it just as is, eventually you're going to have to tilt the rocket prograde to actually get a stable orbit, which for this vehicle you can get away with about 70,000 kilometers above the surface of Kerbin. So next step is going to be yes, that one. So I like using these because I mean, not too much hassle, but can also get away with too big. Anyways, going to have to excuse me. It's quite a burp, but it doesn't want to come out. Anyways, so these will help crack the rocket even out in the upper stages, in my opinion. They're very useful. I use these a lot for a rocket like this. So this is going to be our drag descent. So I'm going to launch this little sucker. I forgot to name it. Next episode, Tony V gets rename the vehicle. So here we are on the launch pad. You don't have to do too much to correct for the Mun. All you gotta do is to get to a vantage point to actually burn to the Mun. So I'm going to launch this. And blast off. So, as you can see, not to worry about. So, this is what I was talking about earlier in the VAB. They have done a lot to the interior in the past, which looks a lot like the pretty awesome in my opinion. So, anyways, just slow down, just. Kind of ease it in. And we're almost done with the first stage of our launch vehicle. So I'm about to jettison, keeping the eyeball on that time. Oh crap, we went overboard. Oh no. Oh no. Best thing is, you can just lower that towards the radio. And I'm actually not full throttle on this. I say I'm about almost, I think about 70% on throttle, which you can actually measure using this. And in the original Saturn V, you wouldn't cut engines until you actually reach a parking orbit. Which parking orbit is pretty much a orbit that you're not going to be using very long. So it could be from 75. Well, in KSP, it'll be about 70 kilometers or meters above the surface, and I got a space station right about here, about 101 meters above my altitude. Anyways, so we are now in orbit around the Kerbin. So we just need to fix that a little bit. So I actually have my SAS on prograde, which is going to be very useful. So we're going to have to burn just a little bit in my tutorial. Not to worry though. Best thing about KSP, you can it's a little hack that you like using. You can fast forward just a little, and it would keep the rocket and prevent it from moving. So you can tell we're not moving too much. Like if I try moving, it won't work unless we're in atmospheric flight. So anyways, so getting to the moon, I like targeting it, even though I don't know how to get to it. It's always nice having a little thing. So you can even under SAS have it pointed at your target. So right now we're pointing away from the target as to our apple. So I'm going to have that corrected. And you can see our little engine is wagging like a dog. That's because I have the gimbal set to free. You can toggle that on, off, and the thing in the Saturn V as for the engine wouldn't been locked. I'm pretty sure it maybe I don't know. But anyways, you can lock your engines and stuff like that. But anyways, and here we are, pointing towards the Mun, full throttle. And I'm just burning my applies to encounter the Mun. I always hit X to stop it. So after a little, okay, in previous versions of KSB, you can actually tell how your orbit was going to be for the Mun. I can't really read these, so I can also do this. I discovered this one day, and this is a little too high for our lander, so I'm going to crap. That was a complete total screw up. And our altitude is going to be about 15,144 meters above the surface, which is a pretty good altitude in my opinion. I usually shoot for about 30, in my opinion. That's because usually I don't have a rocket like this. It's usually a Marsat 5 type rocket that it would have to actually separate from the rocket to get the lander part, since our rocket already has the lander part to it. We don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to separate. And and we are off, and we don't have to do too bad correction. I mean, it's a pretty good setup. So I'm going fast forward. Thank God we have that. And we're just going to wait for our lander to intersect. You know what? Could adjust the orbit, but use an RCS, which you can adjust the orbit just like just normal RCS. The Apollo guidance computer even had a two specific programs for adjusting orbits. One was for Program 40, which was SBS, which is the main engine of the command module, service module. The other was P41, which was RCS. So. I'm trying to get as close to my Periapp as close as possible, because this kind of helps as close as possible. Until I'm adjusting my attitude to try to get this orbit just right. So at this point, you want to try to choose a landing site place that you know what? This is going to be for next time, so join me next time for my landing. And thank you for watching. Have a good day, evening, whatever time it is for you, and I will see you soon.